Okay, one last on this whole games as a service and consultants in particular, because some people are rightly calling out that the consultants aren't stupid, and they're not. They are not. They are not. But what they are is greedy. But in a way, they are, in a meta way, stupid as people talk. You know, when you do local optimization and you fail at a macro, it is always bad. But so as someone pointed out, the financial advice seems to be based on looking at the top and ignoring all the games in the middle and the bottom. Yes, of course. So what these consultants are is they've worked at a successful mobile game company. What do they do at the mobile game company? Sweep the floors? Who knows? Who cares? What they say though is, I worked at a successful mobile game company. I made them a lot of money. Sure. All right. So now they're going to go hang out, you know, and start their own company. So now they're a consultant. And now they're not going to go to some other company and be like, hey, do you want to survive? Do you want to survive? Because in the old days, what would happen, today, you'd sell your game and you get money up front. And if you didn't have a hit, you often still got enough money in that you're like, okay, we can fight for another day. We can take another shot. We can get better at our craft. We can understand what we're making better, and we can do it. And that's what they would do. But now if you're talking about games as a service and, free to play, what you're saying is, oh, no. We have to swing for the fences. We have to be all in. If we fail, we go under. And these consultants just don't care because they are going to keep pitching this same idea. Now, this isn't to say there isn't smart people about how to do monetization inside of these schemes. There are. They understand having various ways to get money at various levels and how to approach players and how to incent them 100%. But they all can't be this, okay? They can't. Okay? But the consultant doesn't care because if you go under, they're going to be like, oh, they didn't execute the plan right. They didn't go hard enough. They didn't do enough work, right? And if they succeeded, well, now guess what their consultant is going to be called? They're just going to put that name underneath, right? Hey, we were part of that. And that's how these people operate, is they just totally ignore all the failures and move on forward with the positives, and they start and they leverage the positive of where they worked previously. And that's just what they do. And so what you'll see is they've got this game plan now, right? I mean, I seriously cannot watch or listen to a podcast or talk of anything about anything around the business of games that doesn't have some wise old man. Well, let me tell you, the only thing that works is free to play and games as a service. They'll get there once they get smart as me. No, you're the same moron. So there's the idea of lifetime value of a player, right? And if you're doing free to play, you have to understand how much can we spend to bring players in, because how much are they going to earn? Remember, big top of funnel. These people are free. Middle, these people are giving us a little bit of money. And then bottom are the whales, right? And you want to get to the whales. And so how do you get the big top of funnel is user acquisition. And again, the mobile game companies, you only care about two things, and that's user acquisition and monetization. You don't care about game design. And so this is the flow. You care only about game design is how it's about monetization, right? But that's the flow. And so, sorry about that. Sorry, coughing. Okay. So they have this idea of lifetime value of a player. Well, all of those people who made all of their calculations for their mobile games on lifetime value of these players got slaughtered when Apple made their privacy change and killed that lifetime value. Because again, mobile games are just selling ads from other mobile games or selling ads from other mobile games, and you're just looking for the whales, roughly. But so when they didn't predict that, they had these forecasts out for years, like, oh no, go ahead, spend all this money, and then wait a minute, we better sell our company now, right? And that's why you saw all of these selling of mobile game companies, because what happened, what they realized is their lifetime value of their customer was wrong. So all of their calculations for their free-to-play games were wrong, right? Oh, but hey, shh. He didn't work at that big successful mobile game company then. He was the smart one, right? And so they'll poo-poo like, here, Harry Potter, biggest selling game last year. Yeah, surprise. 12 million copies. Well, you could have made so much more money. Well, hang on. Could you have? How much more would you have really made? So first of all, let's ignore that. That's an exception, right? We're going to also, the really back of napkin math is 12 million copies at $50 is $600 million, right? Boo. And someone in the comments is saying like, oh yeah, these mobile game, here, let me show you this mobile game made so much more money. Okay, this mobile game also has costs of continued update, right? They don't go away. They don't just do the ads up front and then walk away. They're doing ads all the time, right? Because again, user acquisition. And so then they're also having to create this content all the time. So they're constantly filling this content pipeline, and it just needs to constantly be filled of more people working. Now, if you're making enough money, there's a point where worker hours actually start to become a small number and you're not worried about it. But here it's right, still a cost that you don't have associated with the other one. But the big one is user acquisition. And this is, maybe they aren't smart because they don't see this, okay? User acquisition costs are, right, you have to get users in, and these games have to keep feeding this even late into their cycle because they can't dip. The minute they dip, the minute players think that there isn't going to be this game and they're not on that big hot game, they're going to stop playing it, because the most expensive thing that they're not calculating in their cost for the player is time. And already in time, we have unlimited movies we can watch. We have unlimited books. We have there's so much competition for our time. And so now these free-to-play games act like we're back in the old days where there's not these competitions on our time. And then they're acting like, hey, there's not all these other competitions of all these other free-to-play games on our time. They just all can't win on our time. And so then, as a player, you make the calculation, that game's not doing well. It's not going to survive. I'm not going to put my time into their game to earn up and buy battle passes and all of that because it's not going to be around long enough. I'm going to go put my time into something else. And that is the big piece that they just ignore. They ignore that time pressure for players. They ignore that, hey, this player has limited finite resource of this. They can spend money, but they can't spend more time. And now when you have every game as a free-to-play game with the games as a service, they can't all spend all their time on that. And not everybody wants to play these kind of games. So you have a pool. You're trying to do user acquisition into them, and now it's starting to become a zero-sum game where you're fighting over the same resources as your opponent, right? Like, it used to be a big game came out. It didn't eat up everything because there's only so many players. They're going to go and play that game, and then they're going to go play the next game, and then they're going to play, right? But now we don't do that. We play one game for a year. And hey, that was a successful game, so I come to my consultancy, right? And it's just eating up that time for players. And so players don't have enough of that resource of time to spread around on enough of these. And so more and more, we're going to see these free-to-play games. Not to say Finals is dead, and I wish them the best, but they are, and they know this, they're smart. They are looking at a problem that they have to solve, and they have to solve today. Because if the stink of dead game comes on them, they're dead, right? And so you can go look at any mobile game, and I think Monopoly Go is the Monopoly game, which is not Monopoly. It's let's put ads that aren't the game, but whatever. Okay, that's like the biggest selling game or the biggest revenue generating game in the world, I think, or something like that. But I mean, how much do they spend on user acquisition? Now, for them, it probably works out, right? They're still making a ton of money. That's cool. But they wouldn't have to spend user acquisition if they're selling it up front, which again, for them, it worked out. They made the right choice. But every one of these consultants is looking at them and going, that's the right choice for you too. But it's like, well, no, it's not. No, it's not, because your user acquisition isn't going to get covered by being the biggest selling game, because you're not going to be the biggest selling game. Because you know how many of the biggest selling games of the year there's allowed to be? One. Are there other successful games under that still cover their cost of user acquisition? Of course. But the idea that every single game can be better if it was free to play and had games as a service, because, oh my God, that is the smart way, really intelligent people. See, Chet's just a ranting lunatic. He doesn't have a suit on. He's not going to tell you these numbers. Here, look, we have charts. I don't have charts. I'm a cat. Why don't Bella left the room? She doesn't like when I talk. Unless I'm talking to her. But right, like, they're trying to be this reasonable staid thing, but as players, we can all look at this and we have an understanding. Now, we may not have the language to talk to them about this problem, right? Right, this is like a classic game design thing, is the person experiencing the problem may not have the language to describe the problem to you. But as I do these videos, you go look at the comments. People tell you, don't read the comments. Read my comments. They're great. They're super smart. They're insightful. By the way, yes, we don't talk about neoliberalism because it confuses people, and the long goal of wanting to talk about that and normalize about how bad and crazy people are about capitalism. But we'll just talk about it in practical places. But yeah, no, that's a good comment. Right. But as players, we can see this. We can see this on our time. We can have that understanding that, wait a minute, there can't be 50 of these. And then so what is the model? Do we go back to selling it up front? Is that the only way? Here's the thing. I'm not trying to say that I know the answer to that. I'm not going to consult with you to tell you how you should do your game. Don't send me an email asking for that. I'm saying you should probably look and figure out, are you going to be the exception? You all say that. Your mama's lying. But right, are you? Or are you want to fight for another day? Is this the game? Right? Like there's a bunch of choices people have to make and think about these things as they go through. And yeah, it is easy. It is easy to be the batting coach and being like, hey, what should you do when you go up to bat? Hit a home run. Hit a home run. Hit a home run. You didn't hit a home run, idiot. Struck out, idiot. Right? Like, I don't know what my baseball coach voice. Like that's easy to do. That's not insightful. That isn't smart. So maybe they aren't smart. I don't know. It is just so weird. As all of us players can look at this, and it's so obvious to us. And it's just not obvious to them. They're just so greedy they can't see it.